Hi, and welcome to our lesson on angle measurement. So, this lesson is going to show us really everything that we need to know about angles uh, for this lesson. All right, so let's get into it. So, first of all, what is an angle? Well, an angle is the measurement between two lines. All right, so we have two lines here, and the measurement typically in degrees, between these two lines is called the angle. And there are some parts to the angle, okay? This is called a side of the angle, and this is called a side. And this intersection point right here is called a vertex. Um, okay, now when we are identifying angles, so let me draw this angle here, okay? And I'm going to say that this endpoint is point A, this vertex is point B, and this endpoint is point C. Okay? So there are ways to identify this angle. So how can we, actually, I need to move this. Um, how can we identify, how can we name this angle? Well, we can first of all say that it is angle A, B, C. So if you notice, we are using all three letters that encompass points on this angle. And if you also notice, the middle letter is the vertex, and the middle letter will always be the vertex. So you could also call this angle CBA. We could go the other direction, okay? Now, something else that we could do, we could label this as just angle B. So we can just use the vertex, okay? That is another way of labeling it. And if we consider uh, that the measure in here, let's say that this is a measurement E, okay? We could also call this then angle E. So those are the three ways that we could name this angle. We can use the endpoints and the vertex, with the vertex always in the middle. We can use the vertex alone, or we can use the letter that represents uh, the measure of the angle. Okay? Now, something to consider here is when we look at, let's see, let's do it like this. All right, so when we look at this, let's see, I actually want to pick, nope. Oh, goodness. Okay, there we go. All right, great. So when we're considering like where angles got their names from, all right, we're really coming off of a circle with the center, and then we have these here, okay, and this is an angle, all right. But so in degrees, um, the total degrees in a circle are 360 degrees. And we can split degrees into things called minutes and seconds. Um, that concept is going a little bit beyond what we need to know for this course, but you will see the concept of minutes and seconds shown in the notes for this. But don't stress about getting to know that too much. It's just kind of there to, yeah, you now know what it is. Okay. Now, one thing that we are going to get into, and I believe this is part of your homework, is using a protractor. And I don't believe I have a protractor tool on here. I might. Let me see if I can. No, I don't. Okay. I do have a ruler. Okay. So when you have a protractor, okay, and a protractor, I'm not a great artist, but a protractor is usually kind of looks like this, and then it's got like this piece kind of like this. All right. And it's got all these little marks in it. Okay. And we can use this to measure an angle. So whenever we have an angle here, what we can do is take the protractor and we take this bottom part here. There's usually like a center dot right here. Okay. And then we have this bottom piece that say we would line up with like the bottom of any angle. And then this piece right here, okay, we would kind of look, and I'm just going to estimate, all right, and say it's right in here. And you would read whatever number is right here. And this is the measure of the angle in degrees. And that's honestly like that's really all we would need to do to understand how to measure an angle. Okay. Now, some other concepts that are really, really great to know, and this comes in um, only for this course, but also for honestly, just for life in general. Okay. So let's say that I take this line and put it here, and let's expand it out a little bit. Okay. And now I'm gonna duplicate it. There we go. I'm gonna duplicate it. And I'm also gonna pick it up and do like this. Okay. All right. So something to think about. All right. Because remember when we looked at our circle, right? Okay. And when we looked at our circle, if we were to start at one place and go all the way around the circle and come right back to where we started, If you recall, we said that that was 360 degrees. So now what if we started here, okay, but only went around to here? Well, if that whole circle is 360 degrees, this blue piece is half of that. Goes halfway across the circle, 180 degrees. So if you consider this right here, there's that 180 degrees, okay? So now let's think about what makes up that 180 degrees. Well, we have this right here, right? And we also have this right here. Those two things together make up 180 degrees. Well, what about down here? This is also 180 degrees. And funny enough, it's made up of this piece and this piece. So what I've just displayed here, okay, I've just shown you what are called vertical angles. So vertical angles. So let's call this angle A. Let's call this angle B. Let's call this angle C. And let's call this one angle D. Okay. Well, angle A is equal in measurement to angle C. And the measure of angle B is equal to angle D. Because the sum of these, both ways, the sum is equal to 180 degrees. So when we take and split this up, we can say that these vertical angles, so the angles that kind of form a V when you've got them put together, uh, the measures of those vertical angles are the same. All right. And now I've got one more concept that I want to go through, and that is the measure of the angles in any triangle. All right. So we have this one here. Let's call this angle A. And we've got this one here. Let's call this angle B. And then we've got this one here. Let's call this angle C. And when we take the measures of all of these angles, so the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C, it will always equal 180 degrees. So, and one example that we can kind of consider here, okay, take this and slide it over just a little bit. So let's consider this. Let's say that we have this triangle here. And we are going to say that this degree measure is, we're going to say that this is 25 degrees. And we're going to say that this is let's say this is 75 degrees. Okay. Well, we know that the sum of all of these angles, we're going to call this x. Okay. So we know that 25 plus 75 plus x has to equal 180. Well, when we start to work this through, we have 100 plus x is equal to 180, which means that x has to be 80 degrees. And we can do that for, honestly, any triangle whatsoever. So that is all that I have for angle measurement. Remember, if you have any questions, please reach out. I am here to help in any way I can.